computer. So thank you guys for joining today's Let's Talk Wellness series, the Be Well virtual meetups. Today, November 17th, we are talking about Eat to Beat Diabetes with Nick Mojo. This is a seminar, You Are What You Eat, as nutrition plays a vital role in preventing diabetes and other metabolic diseases from wreaking havoc on your health. So let's join and welcome Nick as a licensed nutritionist and part of the Be Well ground team to learn how food could really help take charge of your well-being. I will say, to make it all just see Nick, I will advise you to right-click on his picture and click pin. This way, you're not actually pinning Nick, but you will be able to see him on your entire screen as opposed to gallery view. So that's just one tip to use. And also to please make sure yourself is on mute and use a chat to communicate. And we have a little side chat going on. So thank you, Nick. I will turn it over to you.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Jen. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today as part of the Let's Talk Wellness virtual meetups with all of the different but incredibly amazing members of the Be Well ground team. We've been doing this all month. As Jen had said before, I am one of the Be Well ground team members. I'm also a licensed nutritionist in the state of New Jersey. Today, we're going to be focusing on the unfortunately all too common metabolic disease known as diabetes. We've all heard about it. We all know a little bit about it, but I want to dive in a little bit into it specifically because November is National Diabetes Awareness Month. And in true Be Well fashion, I decided to devote this discussion purely towards helping you understand diabetes and the harmful effects on the body, but also how you can shape your diet to prevent it. And without it having to be boring, you don't need to sacrifice flavor or variety, aka not having a bland diet. Who wants that? It's not realistic. No one's going to stick with that whatsoever. I myself used to be extremely heavy, and that's because of my love of sweets. I was fortunate enough to learn about all of the different key aspects of nutrition and exercise. And I dropped a ton of weight when I was about 20 years old, just around 90 pounds. So if you can imagine double of me, I'm already a big dude. I was quite unhealthy and was told by doctors that if I did not choose to change my lifestyle, that I wouldn't make it past 45. Needless to say, that was a humongous wake-up call for me. And here I am. So as I said before, this isn't a normal discussion. I want to make this as exciting as possible. So I decided to gather a ton of different foods to incorporate or take out / limit, because let's be real, we're all human here. We're going to have our goodies here and there. But we want to, either incorporate these or limit these in our daily diets. And I wanted to make this as interactive as possible. So as Jen said, she's going to be moderating this, but please reach out and chat. There's a raise your hand feature on Zoom as well. Feel free to use that. We are here for you. We love what we do. And no matter what, we want to sit here and make sure that we address any issues, questions, or concerns that you have. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. We are here for you. We want to help you as much as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in this just so you guys know. I took this a step further and I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning and I cooked all of these foods that I'm about to jump into. And my house smells incredible, but my kitchen is a wreck, which is why we have this in the background and not my kitchen. Trust me, it looks like World War III just happened in there. So like I said, we're going to be talking about healthy eating and not having it be so boring. But towards the end of the discussion, I'm actually going to show you a real sample plate of a Thanksgiving meal that I actually put together this morning. And it's probably going to be very representative of what I'm going to eat during my Thanksgiving. I love sweets, so the entire idea is to focus on serving sizes and nutrition content. So then that way I can stick to my serving size and then be able to have my dessert guilt-free and not beat myself up for it. You know, no one needs to harbor that much guilt. It's the holidays, and especially now because of this really strange situation we're in, we need to enjoy the family. We need to enjoy ourselves, but doing so in as healthy of a way as possible. Um, so again, that being said, we're going to get into the different serving sizes and different food groups. That's going to be fats, sugars, and carbs, proteins, and pretty much everything in between to you know, as best we can. But just a quick note about diabetes. The one that we're focusing on today is type 2. 90 to 95% of all diabetes cases is type 2, and it's extremely prevalent in the United States. The CDC reports that 4% of people, now it doesn't sound like a lot, but 4% of all people in the age range of 18 to 44 have diabetes. 17% of people between 45 to 64 have diabetes. That's huge. 25.2% of those 65 years and older have diabetes. That makes it the 7th leading cause of death in the United States. That is substantial. Now, to understand what diabetes is in layman's terms, it comes on when the body is no longer able to produce or use insulin as it should, and blood sugar levels in the body become too high, get out of control, and the body can no longer control these blood sugar levels. When it gets out of control, there's tons of damage that gets done to the body. Now, I'm going to share my screen and show you just a small representation of that. Let me know if anybody has any issue looking at this. But as you can see, there's tons and tons and tons of different types of things that it can damage. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit. Obviously, you see tooth decay and nerve damage. It also causes neuropathy, which is nerve pain. You can lose fingers, limbs, toes, hands, and even feet. Diabetes amputations account for 73,000 lower limb amputations per year. Diabetes can also cause kidney disease. Now, 50,000 people had kidney failure last year due to diabetes. That's scary, number one. But number two, who wants to put themselves through that? That is just awful. And that really saddens me because that could have been me. I have a lot of family members, as I'm sure you do too, because it is so prevalent in the United States, that have diabetes and have been affected by diabetes. But it can also cause heart disease. It can cause liver damage from having too much fat surround your liver. It can cause blindness. It can make you blind. And it can also cause stroke, which, again, needless to say, that's not something we want. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen just so we can get into the food aspect of this. Great. So that is just a little bit of a heads up for everyone. This is something that we really need to take seriously. It's extremely prevalent. It is so, so common. You could probably walk out your front door right now, and out of 5 people, at least one of them are pre-diabetic, and this is statistically shown pre-diabetic or have diabetes. So let's get into the food aspect of this. In general, it needs to be drilled into everybody's head that fresh food is always the best choice, okay? Processed foods not only tend to have more sugar and salt, but they're so much more quickly absorbed by the body. So yes, you'll get a giant energy boost for a very brief period of time, but then your energy will crash down, which will lead you to, your body will start to produce hormones that make you, it's called ghrelin, actually. It's a hormone called ghrelin, which makes you hungry. So you're going to wind up eating more. So over the course of the day, yeah, you might grab that quick bag of chips, but you're going to be hungry very soon afterwards, causing you to not only eat more salt and sugar and fat and all that gross stuff, but also consuming more calories. That's going to cause your blood sugar to go out of control. You're not going to be able to burn it off in time. Needless to say, it is a one-way ticket to having metabolic diseases, whether it's diabetes or not. You're going to absorb more calories. It's going to cause severe insulin spikes. And again, this can also cause your body to wind up not using or producing insulin the way that it should. Even more so, it's just going to cause you to eat more. Now, I just want to make sure, does anybody have any questions at all right now?
Nick, a question that came through is, so what would be some good sources of, say, protein, carbs, or fats?
Okay, that's fantastic. So that's actually the next section I'm going to go into. Perfect timing. So let's start with carbs, right? We all associate carbs with being the big devil behind, the culprit behind diabetes. That's not always the case, but it's largely a big part of it. So by now, it should be pretty obvious we want to avoid processed foods. And I did this on purpose. This is super dramatic, but I don't care. I'm a dramatic person, and I think that visuals really tell a great story. We want to really avoid processed foods like cookies. This is nonsense. In a box, this is nonsense. We want to avoid stuff like cookies and candies. I don't have a cake, but I do have Rice Krispie treats. Okay. This is all garbage. Throw it out. You don't need it. Okay. The fresher, the better. That is all processed nonsense. That will destroy your body on so many different levels, especially over time. I cannot profess this enough. That processed nonsense that I just threw out, that is staying in the garbage. That's all stuff that I found in my cabinet that my family member had. She's not going to have it tomorrow morning. That much I will tell you. That's staying in the garbage. So good sources that we want to go for are things like rice. Now, I don't want to tip this, but this is a big, large thing of rice that I made earlier today. I like brown rice for the taste, but there's also small amounts of, trace amounts of fat in there, which helps slow down the digestion of carbs, which won't spike your insulin as much. I love more than anything, sweet potatoes. I probably eat about 4 to 5 sweet potatoes a day. Extremely nutritionally dense. Well, now I have stuff all over my hands. Fantastic. Very nutritionally dense, full of fiber, very low in sugar as well, if you can believe that. Now we want to do touch upon stuff that has whole grains, right? We don't want, and this is strictly just for carbs, we don't want stuff like this. This is every college kid's favorite thing in the world. I see that a chat popped up from Chris Marinello. Hi, Chris. Nice to see that you're here. I get this question a lot. Christopher asked, is brown rice worse than white rice? Now, it used to be very, very common that everybody would go for brown rice versus white rice. I did some recent research lately, and actually, there's no humongous difference. It's really based upon preference, but what we got to do is we want to control our serving sizes. That's the most important part about whichever carb source that you choose. Is serving sizes are everything. Now I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to refer back to the slide a few times, but I have an easy guide for everyone that you can print out if you want. I can send it to you. Feel free to email it to me. I have a very easy serving size guide that all you need is your hand to be able to measure it out. So that being said, I'm going to share my screen really quick, and I will show you. So as you can see, if you look at the lower left, this is just talking about rice. A clenched fist, just like I have right now, is about the size of 1 cup of rice. And that's a really good rule of thumb that you can follow. This will help you not overeat. We all tend to overeat things like rice or pasta or things of that nature. We really do want to stick to that serving size. So like the visual says, a clenched fist, roughly 1 cup, right? Does anybody have any questions just before I go further? I know some people were going to ask me about serving sizes, so I did want to jump to that really quickly. But please, if you have any questions, please feel free to speak up.
There is a question that came to me separately. What is the serving size for fats?
So I'm going to jump into fats in, my next session, my next section. Sure. So a lot of fats, though, as you can see, a lot of them are, especially if it's an oil, it's usually a tablespoon or a teaspoon. Teaspoon is the tip of your forefinger. That's a very, very good representation. If your fat comes in the form of, let's say, peanut butter, I have tons of food in front of me, so you guys are going to be seeing a lot of this. For peanut butter, It's about your thumb, makes about 2 tablespoons. Your thumb is 2 tablespoons. That's another really good way to go about it. For a tablespoon, by the way, it's not listed on this pictograph, but the tip of your thumb is about 1 tablespoon. So a serving of olive oil, I believe, is 2 tablespoons. You just double up on that, okay? Now I'm gonna move forward just so I don't waste anybody's time, and I'm going to continue talking about fats now. So fats are super integral to our diet. Everybody thinks that, again, they're the devil. They're not. They not only play a key role in absorbing certain vitamins, but as I said before, it helps to slow down the digestion of certain of carbs and sugars. So if you pair fat with carbs, you'll actually slow that insulin spike. It does not mean that you should eat badly sourced carbs. It just means that it will help slow down the digestion a little bit, and you won't have such an immediate intake or uptick, is really what I meant to say, of insulin. It'll give you steadier energy. The energy will last longer. And again, you won't have that huge uptick of insulin. The one thing to know about fats, though, in any form, there are obviously better sources, and I will get to that in about a second, but fats have the highest calorie per gram. Now, it's actually more than double the amount of calories per gram than carbs. Carbs are 4 calories per gram, as is protein is 4 calories per gram. Fats have 9 calories per gram. They're very, very calorically dense, which is why you always see these servings being so small. A tablespoon of peanut butter versus a cup of rice. There's a reason for that, and that's because they are so incredibly high in calories. Now, not all fats are made the same. Some really good sources of that are things like nuts, which I have walnuts right here. I have, and also seeds. I have sunflower seeds right here, walnuts, sunflower seeds. I love pumpkin seeds. They're a superfood, extremely nutritionally dense. I put them on pretty much anything. I actually put them in my sweet potatoes sometimes with a runny egg, and it's a very, very well balanced meal, believe it or not, and it's delicious. That much I can promise you. If you like egg, sweet potato, and nuts, that is an amazing combination. You'll love it. I see Cheryl laughing over there. Me and her always have very strange combinations of foods that we use, but it is truly, these are all great sources of fats. Ones that we do want to avoid, and they're marketed to be healthy, which is the ironic part, are processed butters and margarines. Like, I can't believe it's not butter. I can't believe that's sold in stores because half of it is literally plastic. I mean, there's stuff that they found in there that's used to make yoga mats. They find in margarine. It's, it's synthetic plastics, which is just, that shouldn't be in food. That shouldn't be ingested into your body. Obviously, we want to avoid trans fats. Now, the trans fats you see a lot of in processed foods, actually like Oreos. There's trans fats in Oreos. In highly processed meats, like things from McDonald's. I hate to random McDonald's parades. I love their fries, but a lot of trans fats are used in a lot of fast foods. It is terrible for you. It clogs your arteries, can cause heart disease. On top of all the calories you're getting, if you're going to go for fat, you might as well go for a much, much better source of them, regardless. So the last thing that I want to touch on food group wise is just, and remember, this all correlates back to diabetes. Having a well-balanced diet is the proteins, right? So proteins give a steady flow of energy. They feed muscles. They give our bodies amino acids, which we desperately need to build and repair tissue as we grow or if we work out. Especially now, everybody's trying to be as active as possible because we're all pretty bored. A general rule of thumb is to choose lean sources of meats. So when we say lean, we mean low in fat. And then preparation wise for cooking, we want to try to grill them or bake them. If neither of those are possible, you can saute them. You can use a spray oil, spray olive oil, try to get organic if you can. It limits the amount of calories that you're taking in. Again, helping fuel the fight against diabetes because you're not taking in as many calories. Some really good sources of protein that we can focus on are lean cuts of chicken, grass-fed beef. Now we want to limit red meat as much as we can, maybe once or twice per week, but it is very, very nutritionally dense. Fishes like salmon and tuna. Now, again, we don't want to eat too much fish because of the mercury, but they have very, very good fat in them. Now, some stuff that we want to avoid are things like, this is a stick of pepperoni. We want to avoid pork, as there are certain cuts of pork that are pretty lean. Certain pork chops are, but things like sausages or bacon, those types of pork are super duper high in fats and extra salt and extra fillers that we really don't need to incorporate into our diet. We really don't. It's just extra calories. You're making your body work harder to burn off all those calories and extra fat. And just because it's fat and not sugar doesn't mean it doesn't raise your blood sugar. Those excess calories do feed into the amount of the amount of sugar in your blood. They do contribute to high blood sugar levels. Overall, by the way, we do want to include as many vegetables as we possibly can into every single meal. One of my favorites is Brussels sprouts. They're very versatile. I mean, you might just like having something like romaine lettuce. If you're not much of a vegetable eater, I know AJ's on here right now. He's not. He's a very, very picky eater. I suggest to someone like AJ, if you can just incorporate some greens, whether it's just plain romaine lettuce, not too heavy on the dressing. And I see Cheryl laughing over there, but it's so true. We have a lot of picky eaters in this room right now. And as many vegetables as we can. We all have different tastes, but trust me on this one. You want to incorporate as much as possible. Not only are they nutritionally dense, they're very, very, very filling. And some of those nutrients actually help stabilize your blood sugar. So again, this is all leading back to diabetes. All of these food choices every day affect our likelihood of getting this completely avoidable metabolic disease, which it's not just diabetes, the disease of diabetes. You get all of these extra terrible things that happen in different organs in your body. Your pancreas can shut down. We talked about all the different effects on the heart, the kidneys, your eyes. You can lose fingers. Imagine one day you're told that you have to lose a few fingers because you weren't eating correctly. Completely avoidable and controllable. Now, just because I'm realizing I'm eating up so much time, I want to get to the Thanksgiving sample. Now, this is a visual representation of what it should look like. I chose really good sources for my fats, my proteins, and my carbs. The idea here is that it's a holiday. We need to enjoy ourselves. Again, especially now, we don't get to see our loved ones as much. If we do choose to see our loved ones, and I'm not saying that you should, you need to assess your own risk for this strange period of time that we're in right now, especially during this time period, we want to enjoy ourselves. We don't want to treat ourselves like our own personal drill sergeants. You can stick to serving sizes during the meal so you can enjoy your dessert, or vice versa. Maybe you want to have a smaller dessert so you can enjoy a larger dinner, right? There's different parts of the meal that I'll show you all very quickly. And for the sake of this, I wasn't about to go out and go cook a 10-pound turkey. I love you guys, but I wasn't going to take 6 hours of my morning and start at 6 a.m. to do this. So I will do the best with my camera. We don't have, on the computers we were given, we have a lower facing cam, so it's a little difficult. But as you can see here, so on the bottom, I actually have ground turkey meat. What's great about ground turkey meat is that you can buy a lean variety, just like you could buy a lean variety of chicken. You can season it however you want. Now, obviously you want to go easy on the salt, but you can do teriyaki sauce, which careful with that, because there's a little bit of sugar in there too. What I like to do is I like to use verde salsa, which is just salsa made with tomatillos, very flavorful, not too much salt. I'm very, very conscious of that. I also have, obviously, some Brussels sprouts. Now, these are just flavored with salt, pepper, and garlic. That's always my go-to. And just so you guys know, as soon as this is over, I'm eating this plate. I'm heating it up and I'm eating it because I'm starving right now. And then to round it all off, my carb source is a nice medium size, not too big, not too small, medium sized sweet potato. Now I'm going to try to pick this up and just show you guys. Now, all of these foods are actually the exact serving sizes that I was referring to before. If you see the meat, it looks like there's a lot. There's not at all. That's about the palm of my hand. Another way that you can measure meats as well, and this is a very well-known one, is using a deck of cards. Not only the width, but the size of a deck of cards is about a serving of meat. That sounds like it's very small. It's not, believe me, it goes a far, far way. Yeah, I see AJ says everything but the Brussels sprouts. Hey man, I'm just happy that you like 2/3 of the plate, that you'll eat anything on the plate, AJ. Thank you for saying so. So again, just a nice little sample of a Thanksgiving meal. This took me close to no time while the baked potato was baking. I was sauteing the turkey meat and sauteing the Brussels sprouts. It's very simple. It's very easy to do. And again, all of this stuff is meant to help prevent diabetes. All of these choices have diabetes in mind to make sure that your blood sugar doesn't get out of control, that these meals are not only nutritionally dense, but they're filling and they're good. They're good. Now I laid out a whole bunch of, I see Janet has a questions. And Amanda also said that Brussels sprouts can grow on you. I know they certainly did for me as well. I hated Brussels sprouts in the beginning, but all of these, there's so many different options out there. And I do encourage everybody, I'm going to share it with you right now, is if anybody has some follow-up questions or concerns, please feel free to email me at nick.mojo@livongo.com. Again, it's right in front of you, but if just in case you can't see your screen, nick.mojo, that's nick.mojo @livongo.com. Livongo is livongo.com. Thank you guys all for coming and taking your time out to listen to me. I do encourage you all to reach out to me and my different and various Be Well team members with any questions that any of you might have. Please feel free to reach out. I really do encourage you to. Thank you, Cody. Thank you. I'm gonna try to open up the chat right now and just see if there's any questions going on here. If anybody has a question right now, please feel free to raise your hand, or I'll even invite you to use the chat feature. So please do. And thank you, AJ. I appreciate it. AJ said, love the knowledge and the energy you bring. I really appreciate that. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Nick.
Of course. And then I see here that somebody had mentioned that they were told by someone with diabetes that they could not eat sweet potatoes because the heat raises the sugar level. I guess you mean by heat, you mean the cooking process can release some of the sugars. That's certainly true. Everybody is different. So you do want to tailor your serving sizes to meet your blood sugar needs. And then the best way to go about that is to speak with your doctor about your A1C or the different aspects that go into measuring and controlling your diabetes. Certainly speak with your doctor about that. I would not have chosen sweet potatoes if I thought it was a poor choice. I think it's an amazing choice. Again, if you ever have questions, please feel free to reach out to us, but also reach out to your doctors. Have open, candid discussions with your doctors and give them your concerns and ask them the questions. There's no reason just because you might be pre-diabetic or have diabetes not to live your life to the fullest and be able to enjoy yourself, but safely and responsibly. Thank you guys all so much for coming out and for all the questions. I see M. Bradbury had suggestions of preparing sweet potatoes other than baked. Yes, you can roast them in a broiler. That is in an oven. If you want to avoid that, you can roast them in a pan. If I were you, if you're going to roast them in a pan, since sweet potatoes are so thick and round, it's a very awkward shape, cut them up and dice them up as small as possible, almost to the point where you can consider it to almost look like a mashed potato. They do take a long time to cook. So that's always why I say bake. But if you don't have an oven, or maybe your oven's on the fritz, cut it up into as small as pieces as you possibly can, saute them. Even while you're sauteing them, put a top on with a little bit of water and steam them. That way they'll soften up a lot quicker and a lot more easily.
Great point, Nick. I boil them just like mashed potatoes.
Nice.
Great point about sweet potatoes. Yeah, I try to avoid cooking them just because they're take so long, but I do want to just put a plug in there because I don't cook. I let my husband cook. So I've been actually using the Food Smart Zapongo app feature on Virgin Pulse. So I've been using that, and you can actually put what type of like ingredients you have at home. So you really could, like, I put sweet potatoes, I have, Brussels sprouts, I have all this stuff, and it'll pop up with certain recipes. So check out your Food Smart Zapongo on your Virgin Pulse account, just so you could get more of maybe an idea of how to cook a sweet potato, or what else you could pair it with a sweet potato. And it'll give you some nutrition facts too, which I thought was pretty cool. So
Oh, that's awesome. Could you put that in the chat for everybody, Jen?
Sure, I will.
And everyone, that is Food Smart, which is part of your Zapongo app. It's given to all PSEG employees. It's available to you.
Yep.
All right, does anybody have any additional questions? Really, feel free. We're happy to address them. Okay, thank you, Jen.
Okay, no problem. Well, I am going to stop recording. Thank you so much, Nick,